UCM.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again for this second installment of the Google Hangouts featuring the different neighborhoods that SUNY-O students live in. I'm Emily, one of the Housing Committee members, and today I'm joined by Catherine, another Housing Committee member, and we're here to talk to you guys about living in Astoria. So we didn't receive any questions via email, but if at any point you come up with any questions, send them to sunyohousing@gmail.com, or there's a button you can click to send it to us directly through the Hangout. So we're going to start off by giving a brief summary of our experience apartment hunting in Astoria.
All right, so we did this together. So prior to it, we kind of made an Excel spreadsheet and had all of these places that we wanted to call and see if we could get an appointment there. A combination of fee and no fees with brokers. So the weeks leading up, we started calling people and kind of found out along the way that you had to call within a couple days just because turnover is so quick to make like hard appointments and set those up. And then housing day itself, we started off seeing apartments. Pretty much everything that we called that we thought was like no fee without a broker ended up being with a broker with a fee. So even if you're searching for something that says no fee, feel like free to ask whoever you're in contact with if they're a broker and if there's a fee, because that might be the case. They might have listed it without a fee, but it actually has one. And we saw probably around like 15 places between Friday, Saturday, and Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think we took Sunday off and then came back to see the place that we're at now. And it was a mix of like some things that we weren't so fond of and some things that were like really nice. We actually ended up submitting 2 applications total. First one we were denied, but it was kind of because the landlord had a hard time with someone he had rented to in the past, and he was a little bit wary of students at that point. And I think there was like a lawyer that was the other person that was applying, so we couldn't compete with that. So yeah, it was a lot, but we ended up with a really nice place at the end of the day. So that's our experience.
Yeah, I think something else that we realized, which I don't think is Astoria specific, but just in general in New York, the pictures aren't necessarily representative of the apartments that you're going to see. So you'll see pictures that are from other units that have nicer amenities, or they know how to take the pictures just in the right way to make it look huge and spacious, but it's really kind of dark and dirty. So just go into that with that in mind, that each apartment you might have like a rough idea of what it looks like, but just kind of be open-minded and walk in and really assess it for yourself, because it could look absolutely nothing like the pictures that you've already seen online.
Yes, very true. Oh, and this was actually what you did, kind of like tried to take count of like how many bathrooms, things that you think that you'll remember, but then after you've seen 15, you realize you don't remember, like, oh, where was that apartment even? So like lighting and like the smell and all of that type of stuff. Like try to take note for each apartment and each address and just keep track of all of that in your head.
Yeah, so be organized. That'll definitely help you out a lot. Take as many pictures as you can. Even keep a map on hand and mark down the different addresses that you see, because after a while, it might just turn into a huge blur depending on how many apartments you end up seeing before you find the one.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So moving on to our second question, which is, knowing what you know now, would you have gone about apartment hunting in a different way?
I think reflecting back, like part of me was like, oh, we could really do this like without a broker, or like it won't be a big deal. I don't know. I feel maybe we should have researched by broker instead of just by like looking at all of these listings online, because turnover is so quick that really if an apartment is on like the market for more than a few days, there's probably something actually really wrong with it and you don't want it anyways. So I would think if you're really just looking for the weekend and you're under a time crunch, a broker is probably the way to go, and make them work for you. Like have a good relationship with them, let them know your budget, let them know it's a hard budget and you don't want to be seeing anything that's out of your range because you can't afford it. And they should be able to show you. I've heard stories of people being shown like between 15 and 20 apartments over 2 days, maybe even like approaching 30. So like try to get in touch with someone who specializes in the area that you want to be living in. I think that's something that I would have done differently myself.
Yeah, like Catherine was saying, instead of having one or two or even three brokers show us multiple places, we got in contact with brokers who had specific apartments that we wanted to see. And it was kind of our experience that after we saw that one apartment, they would just tell us that they didn't have any other bedroom, like 3 bedrooms that we could see. And so we ended up having to contact a lot of different brokers, and that wastes a lot of time because then you have to, figure out how far apart the appointments have to be, how far it's gonna, like how far apart you need to, or how far you have to walk, all of that kind of stuff. So if you can, I would do a lot of research into brokers that have a lot of apartments that they can show you, because if you walk into an apartment and know right away that it's not the one you want, they can just take you to another one, rather than being like, okay, we have to wait another hour to meet a different broker, to see a different apartment. So definitely, like she was saying, make them work for you. You are paying them. So really, tell them how to do their job, or how they can best serve you, since in the end, you're paying them and they're working for you.
Right, yeah. You don't want to feel guilty giving them like a month's worth of rent when they just turn a key for you. So yeah, we ran into like 1 or 2 brokers that we felt we could actually like really trust. So they're out there. You just have to do research and find them.
Right. Okay, moving on to our third question, which is, how do you get to school and how long does it take you?
Okay, so it really depends on time of day. I swear there was one time that I take the train, so that doesn't depend. I always take the train, unless I run there, but that's different. So it takes, if you get really lucky, one time I think I got like 20 minutes. But usually it's around like 25 to 35 is like the upper limit. 30 is like what I can typically expect. And we are super close walking distance either way. I have to spend almost 0 time outside. And I take the NQ to get to Queensboro Plaza, which is still in Queens, and then transfer there to the 7. So that's just like, it cuts a stop or 2.
Mm-hmm.
I can stay on the NQ, which will take me to Times Square, and then I walk a little bit further to school. But yeah, that's kind of the estimated amount of time. That's what I typically do.
Right, so it's kind of nice because living in Astoria, you have, depending on where you live, there are a couple options. So the people who live in the more northern areas take the NQ, and they can either take that into Times Square and walk about a block and a half, or you can transfer to the 7 at Queensboro Plaza, and that drops you off right across the street from school.
Yeah.
If you live in the more southern parts of Astoria, people tend to take the M or the R, and those both go pretty much right next to school as well. So there are a lot of options, and if one train isn't running, there's usually another way to get back home or to school, depending on which way you're going. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
All right. Our fourth question is, what do you pay for rent, and is this pretty average for the neighborhood?
Okay, so I pay $1,000 and $1,025, I guess is the right way to say it, which I feel is kind of on the higher side for the neighborhood. I would say the average might be around maybe like 900 or so.
Yeah.
I know of a couple people paying about 800, and then like some real lucky people, I think actually they're sharing a room, so it's a little bit different. I think somewhere around 700 or so. So we all have our own room in our apartment, which is really nice. And we have a ton of space here. We also have stainless steel like kitchen appliances. It's a very like open concept. We have 2 balconies, like a balcony in the front, and my room has a balcony. All of our rooms, yours fits a full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and mine could, like me and Mare's could fit probably a king. Yeah, it's a lot of space and lots of like lighting. So for the price, it's a great apartment, and that's probably why it's on like the steeper side in Astoria. So
right, I'd say that those are pretty accurate numbers for Astoria. It really depends on how close you are to the train and how nice the building is, essentially. Mm-hmm. So if you want a smaller apartment and maybe like a more of like an apartment complex, then the prices tend to be a little bit cheaper. But if you're looking for an apartment that's in like a smaller house or is really close to the train, then you're going to pay a little bit more for those luxuries, I guess. Okay, which brings us to our last question, which is, what do you like and what do you not like about your neighborhood?
Okay, I have tons of pluses. And my first one is food, because there's a lot of Greek food here, and all of it is delicious. You'll find a lot of it just like one subway stop up from us. So that's a big draw. And then just a lot of fusion, lots of pizza, lots of real good bagels. So great places to go out and have dinner at. Also, park-wise, there's a lot of parks in Astoria and in Queens in general. We have Astoria Park not far from us at all, maybe like tops a mile away. And it's just a great place to go and run. They have a pool. I think they have tennis courts. They have a skateboard park. I'll do that.
For all your tricks.
Yeah. And just like it's a place where they'll have like 5Ks and like little carnivals, food festivals, that type of stuff. So people like even lay out there the nicest day, everyone's out there like filling up the lawn. So that's really nice. Safety wise, I feel super safe. And that goes throughout like the entire area of Astoria. There's not really a like shady corner that I've been to. And I like seeing like young families. There's young families out here. It's not all just like business people that are busy all the time. We're also close to LaGuardia Airport, which is cool if you have friends visiting from out of town. Then they just have to hop on a bus and they're here in like a matter of minutes. So that's really nice too. And we also have Roosevelt Island and I think it's Randall's Island very close to us. So both of those places, there's more parks, there's other people living there. Randall's Island has like music festivals and that type of stuff in the summer. So there's a lot of good things about Astoria. My negatives are, I just kind of felt that I was usually going into Manhattan on the weekends to like meet up with people. I don't know if it's a matter of it just being first year and everyone's like, let's go to Manhattan, like it's New York City. I don't know. And then just like, you could walk to and from school, but it's about 5 miles from where we are here. So in a pinch, like if all of the trains were out in Queens, I would probably have to take a cab. That's just like one other personal kind of gripe about that. So generally, my only complaint about this neighborhood is that you aren't in Manhattan, but that's a given. So yeah, that's just my pros and cons. How about you?
I would say you touched on a lot of the things that I really like about Astoria. For me, I was coming from Portland on the West Coast, and Portland is much, much smaller than New York City. And so I knew that Manhattan would be kind of overwhelming for me in terms of how noisy it was, how many people there were. I knew that optometry school was going to be pretty demanding, and so I was looking for a place that I could really, come home to and relax at the end of the day. And so that's something that I really like about Astoria, because I feel like it's quiet at night, it's peaceful, but it's not deserted. There's still people out at night. You never feel like you're alone walking down the street, and it's definitely really safe. I never have felt unsafe at any point. And so that's something that I really like about the neighborhood, is that it feels like home almost, a place that you can come to and relax. And it's kind of like a separate life than school. So that's something that I really like. I also really like how easy it is to get around in Astoria. So like each of the different stops kind of has like a different feel. So Astoria Boulevard, there's not as much going on, but one stop up at Ditmars, there's tons of stuff to do. 30th Avenue is like, if you ever want to do anything, you can go to 30th Avenue. There's all the food you could ever want, pool halls, bars, restaurants, anything like that. And so that's another thing that I really like. And like you said, being close to the park is really nice. I can wake up and go for a run along the water, or just kind of like hang out, see trees, which is a big deal for me since I'm from Oregon. So that's really nice. In terms of the negatives, like you were saying, not living in Manhattan, I mean, it's Queens. You're obviously not living in Manhattan, so your commute time is a little bit longer. You have to actually make sure that you have enough time to get to school, whereas other people can just walk, or especially the people that are living in Midtown. Yeah. There are instances where the trains, for whatever reason, decide to stop crossing the river, and so sometimes you're stranded on either side. But I would say that's probably happened 2 times this whole entire year. Right. And usually when that happens, there's still buses that run. So it's not like you can't get from one side to the other. It's just a little bit less convenient. It takes a little bit more time. Other than that, I think Astoria is a really great place to live. I'm staying here for another year because I liked it so much. And I wouldn't say a lot of our class, probably a decent amount of people live here. So it's nice when the people who are going out in Manhattan want to go out in Manhattan and you're not really feeling like it. There's still enough people that live in Astoria. You can go to a beer garden or go to a bar or go anywhere really and hang out and not feel like you're missing out because you just don't feel like going into the city that day. Yeah. I think that about sums it up. Yeah. closing comments?
Oh, I forgot that there was one question last night that I somewhat responded to about the number of bedrooms in Astoria, and like this was specifically, are there a lot of like 4-bedroom, 2-bath? And judging from my experience and looking at what other people have lived in Astoria, there's definitely that out there. And then I also know of like situations where there's 4 roommates but 3 bedrooms and they've split it or maybe done a flex, and the flex is just you have 3 bedrooms and you might have like a really big living room or one of the bedrooms is really big and you put up a wall and it's like it's a real wall. I thought it was gonna be just like bookshelves or something when I heard of this flex bedroom concept, but it's a real wall. The one little health code thing issue is that it has to stop like a foot or like a 1.5 feet from the ceiling, so it's not completely like visually you're separated, but I guess sound wise it probably allows a little more sound. So yeah, I think if you're looking for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, you could find it here. I think that there's a lot of space in Astoria, so I wouldn't be surprised. Like if you were to take up an entire floor of a house, or maybe like if it's a duplex situation, I wouldn't be shocked if there were like 4 bedrooms, 2 baths out there. So.
Right. I would say that a lot, like any combination you want probably exists.
Yeah.
But the trend that we notice is the more bedrooms you're looking for, the less apartments there are available at any given time. So we were looking for a 3-bedroom, and we felt there definitely were 3 bedrooms out there, and we saw, like we said, 15 probably until we found one that we liked. But when we were looking for 3 bedrooms, we kept finding 2 bedrooms. And so maybe that was just our experience, but I think 2 bedrooms are probably the most common, then 3, and then 4. So just keep that in mind when you're figuring out, you know, who you want to live with, where you want to live. That it's definitely doable, but the more bedrooms you add, it may end up making it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. It looks like we don't have any more emails, but if anything comes up and you remember a question you have, you can email us at any time. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. We appreciate you joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at the other Hangouts.
Yay.
Bye. Bye.